Okay, so let's be honest. Like, who hasn't grabbed something plastic and just thought, well, at least it's not another disposable coffee cup, you know?
Yeah.
But what if the trade-off for convenience is way more complicated than we realize?
Right.
That's what we're diving into today. What happens when plastic goes from, like, out there in the world to in here,
Right.
in our own body?
Inside us.
Yeah. And we've got some really interesting sources for this deep dive, cutting-edge research reports, and even a video from an explorer who's seen plastic's impact firsthand.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful stuff. And, we're not here to, like, fearmonger or anything,
Right.
but the more we learn about this, the better choices we can all make.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it. The first thing that really struck me was this quote from the explorer, Paul Rose.
Okay.
He says, "It's as if there's an out-of-control chemistry experiment going on inside our own bodies."
Ooh, that's a powerful statement.
Oh, no,
I think that really sums it up perfectly. We tend to think of plastic pollution as something we can see, bottles on beaches, bags, and trees.
Right, the obvious stuff.
But the real concern is what we can't see.
Okay, listen.
These like microscopic and even nanoscopic plastic particles that are just infiltrating everything.
So it's like, we all know about the plastic straw in the turtle's nose, right?
Yeah.
Which is awful, but this is almost more insidious.
It is more insidious. It's everywhere.
It's getting into the air, we breathe, the food chain, even showing up in human organs.
Exactly. And that's where the term microplastics comes in.
Okay.
So these tiny fragments that are less than 5 millimeters in size,
Tiny.
they're everywhere. And then even smaller than that are nanoplastics, which are on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine.
Wow.
They're so incredibly tiny that they can actually cross cellular barriers in our bodies.
Okay, so that's already pretty unsettling.
Mhm.
But then it gets even more complex because our sources got into the fact that plastic isn't just one thing.
Right.
It's like a whole chemical cocktail.
Yeah, chemical cocktail, which honestly makes it way harder to track.
You're telling...
So you're absolutely right. It's not just the polymers themselves that we're concerned about. It's also the additives they contain. Things like plasticizers and flame retardants, stabilizers, colorants, all sorts of things.
This is a long list.
It is a very long list.
Yeah.
And these are added to give plastic those specific properties, make it flexible or durable or whatever.
Right.
But a lot of these additives are known to be harmful to human health,
Oh, wow.
even in low levels.
Hold on, I need to back up for a second. Just to be clear for our listeners, we're not talking about, like, choking on a Lego here.
No.
We're talking about these chemicals actually leaching out of the plastic and
Yes,
getting into our food, our water.
exactly.
It's scary.
It is. And the sheer number of these chemicals is just staggering.
Yeah.
One report found that there are over 16,000 chemicals associated with plastics.
16,000.
16,000. And here's the really alarming part. For 66% of those chemicals, we simply don't have any hazard data.
Wait, so you're saying we're surrounded by all this plastic, it's breaking down into tiny bits that get inside us, and for over 10,000 of the chemicals in it, we don't even know if they're safe.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
And of the chemicals that we do have information on, over 4,200 are already known to be hazardous
Wow.
to human or environmental health.
So, all right, we've got tiny plastic bits and a bunch of potentially harmful chemicals in our bodies. What happens then? Does it just, like, sit there?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that brings us to this concept of the known unknowns. We are really just beginning to understand the long-term consequences of all of this.
Yeah.
But we do have some pretty strong evidence about the harm caused by at least certain plastic-associated chemicals.
Okay, give me an example. Here's where I need things broken down like I'm 5.
Okay.
But like a 5-year-old who reads scientific journals.
Right. So let's consider BPA and phthalates.
Mhm.
These are two of the most well-studied plastic chemicals,
Okay.
and they're linked to something called endocrine disruption.
Right. Endocrine disruption. I feel like most people have heard that term, but can you remind us what it actually means in terms of our health?
Sure. So the endocrine system is basically our body's hormone messaging system.
Okay.
It controls everything from growth and development to metabolism and reproduction.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's essential. And endocrine disruptors like BPA and phthalates can mimic or block hormones,
Oh, no.
leading to a whole cascade of health problems.
And here's the kicker. BPA and phthalates are in so many everyday products.
They are.
I mean, think about it. Baby bottles, food containers, even toys.
Yeah.
The things that we assume are safe.
Especially for children.
Exactly.
It's definitely a cause for concern. And we need to remember that BPA and phthalates are just two examples.
Right.
We're only beginning to scratch the surface of how microplastics and nanoplastics themselves might be affecting us.
That's what I found so fascinating in these studies. They're talking about how microplastics can potentially trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, even damage to our DNA. It's wild. It's a whole new frontier of scientific exploration.
Absolutely.
And the researchers are really calling for more interdisciplinary collaboration to figure this all out.
They are, because it's such a complex issue that requires expertise from various fields.
Right. It's not just chemistry or biology.
Exactly.
Everything.
Everything. And even with all the unknowns, what we do know is concerning enough to warrant immediate action.
Yeah, that's the takeaway here for sure. And this is where the research gets really sobering
Yeah.
because it starts to like put an actual price tag on inaction.
Yeah.
It's not just hypothetical risks anymore.
Exactly. One of the reports we looked at put some hard numbers on the potential health and economic impacts
Okay.
of just a few plastic chemicals,
Uh-huh.
and the numbers are honestly staggering.
Okay, so hit me with the numbers I know from reading these sources that they're not pretty.
All right, so buckle up. Focusing on just BPA and DEHP alone,
Okay.
which are two plasticizers commonly found in everything from food packaging to medical devices.
Yeah.
The research suggests that eliminating exposure to those two chemicals in 2015 alone could potentially save over 600,000 lives.
Wow, 600,000.
Yeah.
And I think what's important for our listeners to understand is that this isn't just about people dying from some acute poisoning.
No,
This is about the long-term health impacts.
but exactly.
Chronic illnesses reduced quality of life for years and years.
You're absolutely right. And there's more. The research also points to a potential loss of millions of IQ points globally.
Millions.
Millions.
Yeah.
Due to exposure to PBDEs, which are flame retardants commonly found in electronics and furniture,
So that's like brain power just gone.
essentially.
Yeah.
Millions of IQ points. It's a huge, almost immeasurable loss of human potential.
It's wild. It's like we've always known pollution is bad, but now we're starting to really grasp the true cost.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of environmental damage, but in human lives and lost potential.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. And then on top of all that, the economic costs are just as staggering.
Yeah.
We're talking trillions of dollars in healthcare costs globally,
Every year.
linked to the health impacts of these chemicals.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So this isn't just an environmentalist's pet issue anymore.
Right.
This is a global health crisis
Absolutely.
with very real economic consequences.
That's why it's so crucial to shift our mindset about plastic.
Okay.
It's not just about keeping it out of the ocean anymore.
Uh-huh.
It's about protecting human health now and for future generations.
Okay, so it's clear we need a major course correction here.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we actually do about it? I mean, plastic is practically woven into the fabric of modern life.
Right.
It's in our homes, our workplaces, even our hospitals.
You're not wrong. It feels overwhelming for sure.
Yeah.
But that's where awareness comes in.
Okay.
That's the first step.
So just being aware of the problem is a good starting point.
Being informed is the foundation for making better choices.
Okay, so awareness is key, but what about concrete actions? What can our listeners do today to make a difference?
There's a lot you can do.
Yeah.
First, start by getting informed about the products you use every day.
Oh.
Read labels. Research alternatives. Don't be afraid to ask companies about the chemicals in their products.
So it's about being a conscious consumer.
Exactly. Vote with your wallet and look for plastic-free alternatives whenever possible. We're not talking about living like a hermit in the woods here,
Right.
but even small changes can add up. Reusable water bottles, shopping bags, bamboo toothbrushes,
I love those.
even beeswax food wraps instead of plastic cling wrap.
You know, I was such a skeptic at first, but I've been using those beeswax wraps.
Really?
And they're fantastic.
Right. There are so many innovative solutions out there.
Right.
And don't underestimate the power of sharing what you learn.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends and family, spread awareness on social media. Collective action starts with individual conversations.
Absolutely. And we have to remember we're not alone in this.
I'm not.
Millions of people around the world are waking up to this and demanding change.
They are. And don't forget about the power of political action.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Support policies that restrict the use of harmful chemicals. Contact your representatives. Join advocacy groups. This is about systemic change,
Right.
and we need strong policies to protect public health.
It's about using our voices and our votes.
Exactly. To demand better from our leaders. And remember that YouTube channel we mentioned, the Plastic Health Channel?
Yeah.
They're doing great work connecting scientists, policymakers, and the public.
Awesome.
It's a fantastic resource for staying informed and getting involved.
So there are ways to make a difference on every level,
There are.
from individual choices to global policy changes. What really struck me reading through all these reports is that it's not about being perfect, it's about progress.
I agree.
Every little step counts. It really is about changing our mindset and our habits one step at a time. And speaking of changing habits, in that video with the explorer Paul Rose,
Yeah.
he mentioned something called the Plastic Health Coalition Alliance. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. That's a fantastic initiative. They're working to bring together scientists, policymakers, businesses, and the public
Wow.
to find solutions to this whole plastic crisis.
Yeah.
It's really encouraging to see that level of collaboration happening.
It's like we can't just keep doing what we've been doing.
I can't.
We need new materials, new technologies, new ways of thinking about production and consumption.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to shift away from this linear, disposable economy and embrace a more circular model
Okay.
where materials are designed to be reused, repaired, and recycled.
You know, it's funny, we started this deep dive talking about these microscopic plastic particles,
Right.
but it's really brought us to a much bigger conversation
It has.
about our entire relationship with plastic and the kind of future we want to create.
You're absolutely right. It's about rethinking the way we design, produce, use, and dispose of materials.
Yeah.
It's about embracing innovation and demanding better from the companies that we support.
So where does this leave us? I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the science of microplastics to the economics of inaction to the power of individual and collective action. What's the one thought you want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think the key takeaway is this. Don't be overwhelmed by the complexity of this issue.
Yeah, it's easy to feel that way.
It is, but knowledge is power. The more we understand about plastic's impact on our health, the better choices we can make.
And that's the beauty of a deep dive like this, right?
Exactly.
It's about equipping ourselves with the knowledge and the tools to actually make a difference.
Stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to demand better from the products you use and the companies you support. Our health and the health of our planet depend on it.
Well said. This deep dive might be ending, but your exploration is just beginning.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us.